Getting live. Getting live tonight. Getting live. Getting live. Getting live tonight. Getting live. Get live. Get live.
Ring, ring, ring. Hello, Pimps and Virgins, and welcome back to Krown's Magical Pockets and Caves.
Be respectful. Seriously, people are losing all kinds of money right now, and you're being a fucking jerk off. Anyways, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. I'm very sorry for my associate over there being all sorts of just nonsense in the background right now. I want to wish you a happy and healthy start to this nice little Tuesday. No, Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Let me just double check my yes, it is Wednesday the 22nd. Hey, welcome to Wednesday the 22nd. I'm from the future because I thought it was Tuesday actually. Anyways, with that said, I'm going to turn off the alerts for right now. We got plenty to talk about today. Bitcoin is very fun once again on the short-term time frames, and there is plenty to discuss actually across all of the lands right now. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. Let's get into it right now. Wasting no more time. On to the Krown Chain application, which we found at app.krownchain.net. And what do we see? It is showing all sorts of very interesting things now, isn't it? Anyways, Bitcoin dominance continuing with the upside that we were looking for over the past, over the past week now. And I do expect that this does still have a few more to go. I expect that this will go into the mid, maybe even deep 40% regions. But still, the long-term macro trend is to the downside. So first and foremost, I probably would be looking for a lower high, but at least for the interim, I would be looking for this to continue on with the wrecked altcoin Bitcoin pairing party. In general, of course, there's going to be some winners within there. I'm actually very interested to see how Ethereum Bitcoin pairing has held up in the last day or so. Let me just grab my footrest over here. I definitely need it. And what do we see as far as the fear and greed index goes? The lowest read that we have seen actually in like a month or like a month and a half now, all the way down to about a 27, which is to be expected after the market just got absolutely fucking bukkake on a fucking shish kebab stick. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Anyways, as far as the top 10's winners goes, we actually do have a few in the list today, which is rather interesting to see, but it's a lot of the ones that you probably don't want to see there, or at least, sorry, actually, you know what? I take that back. I do take that back. Only see one there that is somewhat questionable, we'll say. Let's see if you can pick it out. Anyways, XFin Network, I do see is actually double digits right there. Avalanche also double digits as well. Pretty damn good. Elrond, Axie Infinity, AMP, Hedera Hashgraph, Theta, Unos, and Unus, and Quant, and Bitcoin SV somehow found its way there as well. And holy fucking moly, man, I do want to say, wow, great googly moogly right there. Somehow we already have over 100 likes. Thank you very much for that. Very much appreciate that. Don't forget to like and derp and herp your skirp, and then we'll get on from there. Just kidding. But if you do want to like the video, it actually does help the channel quite a fair bit. But let's get into the shit that actually matters over here, because you don't give a fuck about that. You give a fuck about this, most likely. Anyways, with that said, global failure rate is now consistently negative. We have seen it consistently trend to the downside for the past week or so now. I think a little bit over that. Going back about a week and a half now. And with that said, that is going to be accompanied by the global leverage ratio and, of course, the open interest over here as well. So open interest has taken an absolute fucking shellacking, as you do see it shave off. I mean, basically from the September 7th highs, Jesus Christ, man, came all the way down from 12.5 billion down to where are we right now, about 8 billion. So Jesus Christ, man, that is nasty, and the leverage ratio is starting to come down now as well. So we didn't necessarily get up to the same levels that we did see on the last few major dumbolas. I'm talking about November of last year. I'm talking about April 16th of this year, and I'm talking about September 7th of just a couple weeks ago right there. But with all of that said, you know, this market does need a little bit of deleveraging, and as long as people are buying BTFDing with leverage, I expect that this is going to be the name of the game. Now, of course, I want to address this as well. So there was a big, I don't know, meeting, conference, whatever the fuck you want to call it, with Mr. Gary Gensler of the SEC yesterday for myself. I live in Finland, so this is I'm talking about Tuesday basically, and he was speaking about kind of the SEC's plans and everything, and he made some very, very important statements there actually, some things that I think deserve a lot of recognition here. So first and foremost, the SEC is going to be, I suppose, investigating or litigating, bringing up cases against, it sounded like 4,000 or 5,000 projects, of which these projects are going to be of the type that essentially, promise gains in exchange for giving them your money. So what does that essentially align with? Probably a lot of DeFi. So I don't necessarily understand how exactly they're going to do that if it's not like a centralized entity, but all of these centralized entities that are doing like lending essentially are probably going to come under a bit of scrutiny and a little bit of fire. Now, I expect that at the end of the day, this will have a good resolution, and it probably won't be as bad as what I think a lot of people are probably looking for right now. But what does that mean? It means that there's going to be turbulence in the interim, of course. And also, it was very interesting to hear his thoughts on Bitcoin specifically, as he says that that's not their target, that's not their thing. And that's, it sounds like he's kind of on board with it, which is, I suppose, a good thing if you are a Bitcoin appreciator out there. But with that said, it does sound like a lot of these lending platforms especially are going to come under deep scrutiny. So it sounds like the best resolution is that these platforms are going to have to come out over to the SEC, over to Gensler, and essentially, play ball game with them, which I imagine comes down to implementing KYC. I know that this is, the biggest fear for like a lot of people in the crypto space, but understand that this was kind of always bound to happen now, wasn't it? At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, as this space matures, you can expect the integration between the old world and the new world. The old world being kind of the way that things have been done, in the new world, kind of what we're experiencing right here, in an experimental format as well. And I expect that is going to come with some trade-offs from both. So we probably will be trading off a lot of the anonymity of what we have currently in cryptocurrency land. I expect that that's going to also mean that most stablecoins are probably not going to be too well looked upon, especially if they kind of remain anonymous. But as far as like the actual decentralized lending platforms, I don't know how they're going to actually deal with that. That is a good question, and crypto seems to always kind of find a way. Anyways, with that said, into the price action charts we go. We got a long one today, and what do we have going on over here on CME chart especially? We do see, of course, a continuation of the overall trend. We see volatility continuing up, expanding. We see obviously the downtrend emerging from that last lower high right around there. That is where I did say, look, this is no longer bullish, below about 47,500, and we've seen continuation from there all the way down to 40,000 bucks twice, which we did say was likely yesterday, both a bounce in the short term and then very likely a retest of the lows, sometime around US market open or close. And we actually got that. And so I would be looking for actually something relatively similar today, except I do think that Bitcoin's in for a bit of a bounce here that probably does get sustained. Now, with that said, it should be known that we do have a lot of things to be aware of right now. We do see actually daily Jewel is getting a pretty nasty holiday or short signal right there. And we do see that with volatility increasing alongside trend continuation. I mean, that's pretty much what I look for. And if you look at this right here, is that a head and shoulders? Yeah, that would actually fit the bill for a head and shoulders, of course. And I'm just curious if we actually already hit the measure move on this one. By the way, we're currently sitting at about the 382 right now. But yeah, the measure move is actually significantly lower, or to each their own, right? But I'd say this is about significantly lower, somewhere down around about 37 to 38,000 bucks, around the prior Bitcoin massive daily low, which is very important, obviously, for general market structure now, isn't it? Because that is also where, if you remember, if you recall back on over to here, that is actually, if I go down to the daily, you'll see it a little bit better. That is actually where Bitcoin put in the last daily low before putting in the blue buy signal on the hash rate indicator right here. So if that whole ideology is going to come to fruition, if that is going to be historically relevant, then we would expect Bitcoin to not close any higher term timeframes below this region right here. If it starts to do that, then that is no longer an active, source of edge, or at least in my opinion. I mean, it's like that would be the negation of that. And well, you can probably expect to move down, with probably bounces along the way, all the way down to 32 or 33,000 bucks before the next sort of daily bounce, or like the next big one. But for right now, I do expect that there are a few things on the daily that are of importance right now. We do see, of course, on daily over here, as we spoke about yesterday, the PMARP is actually getting down to the levels that I do start to look for, decent sized bounces. Now, of course, it can go a little bit lower than where we're at right now, but we are within the context of historical, big bouncy areas, if you will, BBAs. Yeah, I like my fucking BBAs now, don't I? Anyways, with that said, could we have one more swipe or sweep of the lows, maybe like a little bit lower? Yeah, definitely possible, but I do think that Bitcoin very likely puts in a rally first. Somewhere around this region to about 44,000 bucks, and that's going to be the real question mark in this. If Bitcoin does start to get back above about 44,000 bucks, that would actually be breaking back above what would be the neckline if you are looking at this as a technical head and shoulders, which I do think works out right now, to be fair, and that would actually negate it on the other side. Now, it doesn't necessarily imply anything more to the upside, although I would be looking for very likely a move all the way up, maybe to like 46,000 bucks perhaps, but it wouldn't necessarily imply that this is like bullish or bearish, just that we're a bit bearish and ranging as far as the higher term timeframes go. Short term timeframes though, that means that there's going to be a shit ton of opportunity because this thing is we're operating within even like kind of like a short term timeframe range of a few thousand bucks, which definitely offers up a lot of opportunity right here. But with that said, again, just kind of mark off these same sort of areas where we have gotten into on the daily PMARP, especially, is correlated with a lot of pretty impressive bounces. The last time we saw it down around this region was actually in June, late June, that is, on this low right here, before an almost immediate, by the way, if I measure this one out. If I do take the wick, it's going to be quite impressive, about 30%. But if we do go from closure to closure, it was about a 13-14% move right there, so not bad. Of course, before that, we did see this phenomenal bounce coming off the very low end of it. That's typically where we do actually play out the more macro moves on this one, the more aggressive ones. Of course, the last time being about, I guess, middle or late May right here. Anyways, that one produced about a 40% move, but again, it did hit into the bottom side of that territory. And I don't think and obviously we're not close to that right now, and I don't necessarily think that we're dealing with that. But if we were to see a move down about 32 to 33,000 bucks, that would very likely do it in this case. Of course, the time before that was way back on over here in this little accumulation zone back in what was this, January of 2021, and this produced, over the course of like a month or two, about 100% move. Not bad. Same thing over here. After playing out a pretty nasty downside move, reaccumulated, took a couple months here, but 20% move, and then over the next few months, about 100% move. And then of course, the last time before that was March 2020, coronavirus dumb times, which again did get into the very, 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 very deep end of that right here. But as you can see, while it was actually retested, this was a phenomenal area to be looking for, big bad bounces, if you will. 50% pretty much right immediately, and then over the course of like the next year, this was just straight up, obviously. So with that in mind, I do think that Bitcoin's preparing for one relatively soon on the short-term timeframes right here. Maybe after one more sweep a little bit lower, and then if that fails, if Bitcoin gets rejected anywhere below 44,000, or I'd even say 44,500 in this case, then I actually would be looking for a continuation on trend. At the very least, to 38,000 bucks. Probably another bounce there. If that area fails, then 32 to 33,000 bucks once again, actually. Anyways, on top of that, should we go back on over here? Where was it? Remember, this was actually remember the prophecy chart from way back when. It's actually starting to play out rather funnily. So let's see if that one holds true. I did make the statement like way back on over here that I didn't think it was actually going to happen just because of the hash rate indicator. That's still possible, yes, but that is kind of what I'd be looking for if Bitcoin does break the prior daily low, which is about 38,000 bucks. Not the prior daily low, but the prior daily low before that blue buy signature on the hash rate indicator. Anyways, let's go down to the shorter term timeframes right now, because we haven't even spoken about them like at all. And what are we looking at on the hourly right here? Because the hourly actually is actually phenomenally useful right now, by the way. Let me just double check on the 4 hour as well. Yeah, okay, so the 4 hour is basing off right around the 382. We did hit that on the wick basis. Now, I did take this Fibonacci retracement on a wick basis. I wanted to see where these wicks are going to come in, just because this is one of those times where, it's not one of those times, but this is the time where, we do see a lot of wiki price action, on this very, very volatile asset. So I did want to see kind of where that came in around. So we did hold under the 382 right here. Typically speaking, after that, I would be looking for a move at the very least to the 0.5. Usually, actually, even into somewhere around the 618. Now, again, that would obviously imply a little bit above my 44.5 pivot right there. But I do think that Bitcoin will very likely retest somewhere around there, and then we get to play the game of, okay, is this actually is this failure or not? But for right now, we do see several things that do align with a little bit of a short-term bounce, maybe after one more drive, somewhere down around about 40 to 41,000 bucks. But with that said, I'm not too I'm not too gung ho or confident about that right now. But we do see all lower-term timeframes are pretty much maxing. I wouldn't say max. There's no such thing as maxing on volatility, but we are at extremes right now, so it's a little bit relevant to be looking for some consolidation and probably a bounce within this territory. Very, very similar to yesterday, actually. Very, very similar to yesterday. But hourly right here got up all the way to 95 percentile. I usually like that area, or, especially above it as well. Same thing on 4 hour, right around 90 percentile. Daily is still ticking up here. So the bigger trend is still very much in limbo, obviously. And by the way, I would consider this a test of the 200 exponential average as well. So with that in mind, typically bouncy areas. Can Bitcoin spend some time around here? Yeah, absolutely. Again, I wouldn't mind another run down somewhere around, low 40,000 bucks. But ultimately, I do think that Bitcoin will bounce first before actually playing out a little bit more. So are you okay? You okay over there? Oh my god, that person's back. Holy shit, man. I wonder what that guy actually masturbates to. That is ridiculous. Like, imagine being that person. I don't want to like judge people unnecessarily, but imagine being that person like that thinks that that's like a good way to be spending time. It's like, holy shit, man. Jesus Christ. Well, I hope it works out for you, man. I hope it works out for you. But, some people just wake up in the day and they're just like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to let Elsa know I want to see her Milky Loads. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, okay. It's like, okay. Yeah, how does he know that? That's weird. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so yes, we were back on the lower term timeframes over here. Let's see what Momentum also is saying right now. Yeah, we actually don't even have any bullish divergence on a 4 hour time frame just yet. I think the hourly does. Yes, it does. 1, 2, 3 drives, but that is coming off the current lows. I don't think that one's active anymore. By hourly, same thing actually. And other than that, I would like to see. Oh yes, we actually do have a bit of a jewel signal going on as well. So I do like that. So I would be looking for a little bit of an ebb at the flow, maybe back down to 41,000 bucks. If this thing wants to hit 40,000, that's completely fine as well. Who knows where these fucking wicks ends, but as long as Bitcoin's not closing 4 hour dilts below 40,000 bucks, I'd be looking for that to essentially be another opportunity for a decent sized bounce within this region. Anyways, go over here and check out what our other momentum oscillators are saying. Obviously, we'll get to the higher term timeframes later, but I do want to talk about these short term timeframes first. Yeah, 4 hours actually still downside angled as long as below about 42,600 or so. What is the buy hourly saying? It will be actually freshly crossing up with any sort of a closure above 41,600, and hourly is doing what is up as long as above 40,750 or so. So again, we do see a bit of bifurcation right there. Probably aligns with maybe one more dip somewhere into like the mid to low $41,000 territory, if I had to guess, and then very likely a bounce. And bounce targets are, kind of similar to yesterday actually. 43.5 is something that I'd say is rather likely, and then above there I'd extend it to about 44.5 right here, the top side of the blue box, and that's where things start to look a lot more interesting. Above that region is where is where I'd start to actually look at this as likely to extend a lot more first before anything else. Target can be extended all the way up to 47,500 at that point. But for right now, just going range by range here, media by volatility and momentum oscillators, it does look like a little bit of an ebb at the flow, and then a very likely a bounce from there. Anyways, with that said, I want to cover up the medium and higher term timeframes. 12 hour, obviously catching hold of the 200 simple right there. So again, just another somewhat sticky-ish, bouncy-ish area, if you will. And then if we go over here, I do want to see how that matches up with with these babies as well. 12 hour remain downside angle as long as below 46,350. So I do think that upside today is very much capped. I would be very surprised to see upside anywhere above, especially 44.5, but probably even 44,000 even. Although I do think that 43.5 is very likely after maybe one more swipe at the lows. Daily, what are we looking like right here? Freshly crossing the downside on CME, and will be remaining to the downside as long as below 45,830. Do we have any trend lines coming in here? No, we do not actually. And then if we go to the 2-day, what do we see? Yeah, going to be downside angles as long as below 48, so quite likely. And 5-day, this one's very concerning to me because this one is really going to start to drive the bias in my mind that we probably are going to see about 32 to 33,000 bucks overall. We're going to see 5-day Stokes cross the downside with any sort of a closure today below 41,900 or so. Now, of course, right now we are above it, and the hopium would be on the other side. The hopium would be on the other side that if today does close anywhere above, 44.5 especially, that would look pretty damn good for a 5-day. I don't think it's that likely today, but again, my opinion is worthless in that context. It means absolutely nothing. But as far as RSI and pretty much all other oscillators go, it does look like Bitcoin wants to test down somewhere into like the mid to low $30,000 territory for what it's worth. Very likely after a bouncy bounce here. Anyways, higher term timeframes than that don't look too damn good if you want to. If I'm going to be honest with you, looking at the biweekly right here, we don't just have a lower high on the weekly, but also the biweekly as well. And it looks like, it looks like that biweekly MACD is going to be playing out. So fair enough on that. Let me just double check right there. Yep, same chart. Okay, cool. All right, great. So I think we've gotten all of that. Let me go back down over here. Let me go back on over here. Let me go over to the old dildo formations. And God damn it, man. Yes, you did not buy a coin and now you lost all your money. Sorry. It's just that he told you and he didn't lie, I suppose. Yeah, man, it's very interesting. Some of the comments that I got on that video, I actually had to make it private just because, well, on second thought, the thumbnail might not have been in the best tasteful sense. Might be spreading the wrong message, so I'll say that. But yeah, man, it's actually really, really interesting to read some of the comments because there are some people who actually bought into it. I suppose under Akon's financial guidance, but they didn't like what I had to say about it. But fair enough, man. Everyone's free to do whatever the fuck they want to do, right? Anyways, with that said, I think it's time for me to get into the charts now, into the chats now. But before that, we should look at NASDAQ right here. This also does kind of align with my thoughts that we very likely bounce from this region first on the daily. You can see NASDAQ hanging on to the 55 right here, and I suspect that we will very likely pop back up somewhere around about 15,250 or so, and then get to play the game of do we have a lower high in the making or not. Lower highs are in effect as long as below 15,500, and we already have a lower low as well, so fair enough. Of course, other major indices are not looking as hot. If we want to look at Dow Jones over here, again, I'd be looking for a bounce on this one. This thing can bounce all the way up to 35,000 and still look like shit, but but this is a bouncy area nonetheless. And of course, SPY, which I know King Cosmic is already here. So let's just actually get this one out of the way. Yep, we do have a lower low over here. I would be looking for a bounce anywhere around 4,400, kind of similar to yesterday, is fair game. In fact, we already got the bounce to 4,400 yesterday, but it looks like the market's probably going to give you another shot at that above, actually not even 44, but 43.90. Anywhere above 43.90, actually, Mr. King Cosmic. Right around here. Let me get rid of this because it's just getting in the way for right now. And let me get rid of this because it's not relevant for this time frame. But anywhere above the last hourly lower high, which is 43.90 or so, or just a wick higher than that, I send targets all the way up to about 44.35 to 44.40 or so. And I do think that that's probably going to happen from here. But again, this one's operating. This one is bearish as long as below about 4,500. And this does play into my thoughts that we probably do see the greater correction. Maybe not happen. It's starting this month, but I don't think it's going to reach its full totality this month. It probably happens in October, maybe even late October. But yeah, momentum oscillators are starting to break down. Weekly Jewel is getting a pretty bearish signal. This is like the first bearish signal that we got on the weekly Jewel. We have the DMI right there. We have obviously the Jewel right there, not just on the volatility metrics, but also on just the the prior way that was used. Yeah, I suspect that this one does eventually come down to like 41.40, maybe even a little bit lower than that. Let me just see how deep of a correction that would be, because I'm postulating like a 15 to 20% move. That would be about 15%. Where does 20% net us? That'd be all the way down to about 36, 35. That would be pretty fucking nasty. So fair enough. I'm going to get onto the comments right now. Let's do this. Let me go back onto Bitcoin really, really quickly, and let me just pull them up over here. Let me turn on the alerts as well. There we go. Lovely. And let's do it, baby. What's up, Kelly Kellum? Yeah, man. Of course, I recognize the name right there. Yeah. That's fucking awesome, though, man. Well, Jesus Christ. All good, my friend. All good. Give us New Yorkers some bedtime stories. Well, Jesus Christ, man. You guys are some goddamn crypto zombies over there. Up way too late, way past my bedtime. But you know what? I welcome you as well. Even if you're undead, I welcome you into this community, because you know what? In Pathfinder, I am officially an undead Lynch King, and that means that I don't really know what that means, but it means that I can raise the dead, and I can do all sorts of very cool stuff with that. So I am that has been my focus recently. Fucking hilarious, actually. Anyways, so what's up, Mr. BK? Holding strong. AVAX USD. Yeah, AVAX I actually did check out before this stream, just because this one's whenever I see charts like this, it becomes very, very interesting to me. And yeah, it does hold up relatively well. So whenever I see something like this, it's worth paying attention to, obviously. And we actually will have hidden bullish divergence here confirmed by end of day if this thing does close anywhere above 65. And I would be looking for another run at the prior high at about $70 and about 70.5, and very likely long-term continuation. Very, very interesting to see something like this. This one acts very, very well. So if it does want to correct a little bit further, I forgot to record this one. Here we have avalanche symbol AVAX versus the dollar, and we have a very interesting chart right here because it is not, it's not getting shellacked as much as the rest of the market. In fact, it even closed green yesterday, which is rather interesting. And while most things are down multi-digit percents, this one's down. Well, this one's actually down quite a fair bit as well, about 30% right there. Well, I guess maybe we should turn off or turn on log. Anyways, with that said, we actually will confirm hidden bullish evidence here between this point and this point if and only if this thing does close above about $65 today. If that happens, I would be looking for another move just above $70 and probably long-term continuation. But for right now, there's a big pivot right around 55 and 30 cents. Below there, I would look for a deeper correction all the way down to about 42.5 to $43. But with that said, this one operates really, really well, and it does deserve a lot of recognition for that. If we go down to the lower term timeframes over here, it does not look like that's going to be happening today. In fact, this one does look short term good. In fact, anywhere above 65.50 on a 4-hour, and I would say that daily hidden bullish divergence is going to play out, and we will see a move all the way back up, not just to 70.5, but probably more like $74. And at that point, kind of have to be looking for a general continuation. This whole sort of correction right here, if you want to call it that, it's a correction, obviously 30% move right there. It's coming on declining volatility. And if we go over here to our momentum oscillators, I'm curious to see where we're at right now. Well, let's see if they support the short-term bullish case. Let's go down to a 4-hour first. Yeah, 4-hour remains to the upside as long as above 50.45. Hourly remains to the upside as long as above 59, basically. And bi-hourly remains will be crossing the upside with a closure above 62 and 15 cents, which will be confirmed in 24 minutes and 47 seconds. So, and it currently is trading above there, obviously. Medium-term time frames, we'll see what they're currently at. 12-hour looks corrective, 71.33, the magical number right there. So obviously, probably not going to happen today, but potential tomorrow. And daily will be down as long as below about 75.45, in fact. So with that in mind, again, short-term time frames, if this thing does start to close back down below on a 4-hour dildo time frame, below about 57.25, that'd be kind of an invalidation right there. And then I would be looking for the other side move to play out somewhere down around about 43 to 40, or yes, somewhere about 42.5 to 44, or sorry, 42.5 to $43 right there. But for right now, a chart that actually acts much better than most things within this market, which is a good sign. Let's just see how it holds up if Bitcoin wants to dump out the lows once again. But hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for AVAX right there. Nice, not bad. Yeah, very pretty damn good right there. What's up, Blockchain Barber? Love your live streams. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Adam, 4-hour and 6-hour and daily. It's funny that you bring up the 6-hour. The 6-hour time frame is actually really, really good in cryptocurrency, but it really doesn't get much love. It's all about the 4-hour time frame for whatever reason. I mean, the 4-hour is pretty good too, but the 6-hour is actually the one that I do quite like. Anyways, let's see. You're looking at a 4-hour, 6-hour, and daily. Okay, this one breaking down a little bit more. Short term, if this thing wants to bounce back up to 36.5, that's completely fine. But ultimately, I do think this one will find its way back down to about $25 or so. Let's just do a general perusal of this one, where we are on the weekly. I mean, long term still good. Corrective move down to like $24 would actually be completely fine for the long term. Short term time frames like a 4-hour very likely bounces first, however. And here's how to negate what I just said. If you do see a 4-hour closure above about 38.25 on this next bounce, then yes, I would say that you're not going to see that. You're very unlikely to see the downside first, and you're very likely to see probably retest the prior highs at $44 first. But for right now, it is certainly under pressure. It does act a little bit better than most of the things it looks like as well, but where would my continuation for the downside be? I mean, I'm generally looking for a bounce here first, probably rejection somewhere in the into the mid to upper 30s, and then probably does come down. But let's just see. Where can I come up on an hourly? Do we see anything of particular obviousness? Yeah, actually, okay, here we go. About 29.80. Let's just call it 29.85 on a buy hourly right there. If you do close below there, I'd be looking for the downside to emerge first. And areas of interest would be somewhere down around about 24.5. Of course, this is not financial advice, but again, a chart that coming to the end of the month, I'm not so sure if I like that, but fair enough. We'll just leave it right there. Still another week or so to go, so a lot can happen right there. Anyways, I did forget to go over the 6-hour. Yeah, 6 hour does look a lot more downside angled, but short term bouncy. Assuming that the bounce fails to get back above about 37, I think it was 80, then I would be looking for the next move to the downside from there, somewhere around about 24 to 24 and a half. All right, cool. Martin Hunt, what's up, man? Morning to you. Can you look at algo shirt on short term time frames? Okay, 1 hour and 4 hour. All right. Gotta pay rent. Let's see. Whenever someone asks me about like very, very low term time frames, like, man, does this person need to like pay rent by end of week or something? But actually the hourly and 4 hours not too bad. In fact, like I said at the beginning of the stream, there's a shit ton of opportunity on the short term time frames. Let me just double check where we're at in the grand scheme of things here too. Yeah, this one breaking down right now, or not right now, but did break down. Anyways, okay, so let's address what you asked for. You said 4 hour and 1 hour. All right, 4 hour very likely bounces first. Wouldn't mind a bounce up to about 177 or so. However, I do think that this one, well, you know, I'll just come up with some ranges right here. We don't need to use this level anymore. It can actually be moved down a little bit to 180. As long as you're below 180, obviously bearish. Above 180, I would be looking for one more run up to about $2, and this one would actually look okay for the short term. Above $2, this one actually looks really, really good. Once again, you know, very likely puts in a move back around your prior range highs. But for right now, short term bouncy. I do think anywhere around about 175 to maybe even as much as 180 is fair game. Above 180 is where I do start to look for this one to actually continue and have another decent move to the upside. I mean, that's 180 to $2. How much is that? About 10% move, which is relevant on a short-term time frame. Obviously, multiple drafts of bullish evidence come off the lows, so I do think it's bounce first. Very likely bounce first and then decide later. Of course, invalidation below about $1.50, and if you do take out $1.50. I'd be looking at another run somewhere down around the 618 right here, which is about $1.30. Also in line with the 55 as well. Would not look good, man. Not look good. Holy shit, man. Okay, this person like seriously needs like goddamn, man. Just imagine being that person though. Like that. Like I don't like try to shit on people like that because you know like think about what your life would have to be in order to like think that that's like a good use of time. I don't know, man. It's just kind of like weird. Anyways, you know what, man? I do hope it works out for you because the world would be a better place with like, you know, if you could like get your shit together. But fair enough. Anyways, get on over to Mr. Jackass right now. Ethereum, Bitcoin, short and medium term. Yeah, let's check this one out. Okay, so we did break down here. So actually, Ethereum, Bitcoin is coming down alongside the rest of the market, and this is not a good sign right here. Did not want to see that happen. If this one is going to remain long-term bullish, I suspect as well. Yeah, monthly is a little bit under pressure now too. Weekly still okay. But I do expect that we will play at a more prolonged downside move first before anything else. Short term, however, as you requested, I don't know what I'd be saying. This one bounces first. I'd be looking for one more swipe to the lows, actually 6.7 million satoshis, and then probably a bounce. Bounce can happen up all the way to like 6.95 million satoshis, but you know, where are we right here? Yeah, as long as you're below yesterday's high, this thing, you know, at best ranges on the lows, maybe puts in another low right here. I do expect that this one does have a drive a little bit lower overall, but again, you didn't really ask about higher term time frames, so maybe that's not relevant to you. If we go to the 4 hour, yeah, again, this is not what a low looks like right here. Short term very likely grinds out the lows one more times and then puts in a bounce. Any bounce that fails to get back above 7.1 million satoshis is just another failed bounce, actually. There we go. Anyways, let me just double check. I feel like I'm missing some on this one. Yeah, 12 hour. Yeah, I'd be looking for another swipe somewhere between about 6.6 and 6.6 to 6.6.5 million satoshis, and probably bounce from there. Yeah, that's really what I have to say about that one. It's kind of hard chart to love, especially as long as below that 7.1 million satoshi region. Let's see, where would I have an invalidation? Nah, I think I'll just leave it right there. Yeah, weird one to see actually. I do want to check some of our other higher term time frames right now, just to make sure that I'm not missing anything like massive. Okay, quarterly, selling off that area right there. All right, okay, it's not too it's not too concerning for the very, very long term. The fact that we're going to get a bi-monthly backfill, and that actually is your 6.5 to 6.6 million satoshi region. So that's kind of where we're looking towards. And then pray to Boolah. Geez, if that area fails, I'd be looking for a full move down about 6 million. Would not be good, man. Would not be fucking good. So please be aware of your risk right there. Damn, that'd be actually really, really bad to see for Ethereum, especially. That would kind of imply something. Well, that'd probably imply Bitcoin down to about 32 to 33,000 bucks. Hopefully that was helpful there. And then we shall look at. Hey, what's up, Mandan? BHP. Okay, on ASXK, we got a real stock, BHP. BHP. This thingy right here. All right, not familiar with this one. Looks like it trades all sorts of weirdness. What time frame are you looking at, sir? Weekly and monthly. Okay, very high term time frames. Got it. Weekly bouncy area right here. This one's been absolutely beat to shit. Looks does not look good over the last month or so, obviously, or the last couple months, but I do expect that we're in a bouncy area. 200 simple and 200 exponential average, holding it up for right now. First test around the bearish control zone right here as well. Typically going to bounce it, and weekly BBWP is in the 97 spot 22 percentile region right there. Yeah, I'll be looking for this one to grind out the lows a little bit and then very likely put in a bounce. And this one can bounce quite a fair bit. I mean, it's been beat up a lot. If this thing bounced back up to like 42, that'd be completely fine over the next month or so. And then let's actually look at the monthly action request as well. Yeah, monthly coming down to the 55. I'd look for bounces within this region, very likely up to the 21, probably in October if I had to guess. Long term. I mean, long term, it's actually not too bad, but I do expect that this probably going to bounce first, then we'll come back to it after that. How about that? Yeah, I think getting ahead of ourselves too much there is probably not going to be too useful or too helpful. So let's just go back on over here and see what else we got, baby. What's up, Gemini athlete? Sushi on the 4 hour. Yep, that one. Pull it up right here. Okay, let's see. Okay, and you're looking at a 4 hour. I just want to see where this one is. Yeah, this one's getting beat up as well. Already made new lows. This one very likely does go lower. Let's see what the hourly looks like. But that's overall. If you're asking about the hourly and 4 hour, all right, we got a little bit of a short-term range right here. Above about 980, I would look for extension all the way up to about 1040. Let's see what the 4 hour says if it agrees. Not really looking like a low just yet. No divergences to be spotted here as well. Don't like it, man. I would not be too surprised if this one actually does. I would not be surprised if this one actually does continue first to the downside before any sort of a decent sized bounce. 890 is kind of where I'd be looking towards on this one. Not great. Not great, man. Definitely weak. Definitely weak within this market. Hourly, I would invalidate that for the short term above 980, and I would look for that move first to about 1040 to 1045 region. After that, though, it's a very, very hard chart to love, especially on the lower time frames, as long as you're below about $11 here. All higher term time frames, which again you did not request, so maybe it's not relevant to you, maybe you don't care, are bearish. This one's heavily bearish on a daily, as long as you're below about 10.25. Long term, weekly is in free fall, although short term very likely bouncy. So maybe one sweep a little bit lower than we're currently at right now, and very likely a bounce. Bounce fails to get back above, what was it, 10.25. I'll be looking for this one to come much lower over time into the probably 7.25 region. Actually, it's going for the full retrace, man. Not fucking good. Not fucking good, sir. Not fucking good. Let's see. Scott Barney says, not even Scott Barney can say that. How dare he? Yeah, I mean, kind of. Well, it's the internet, man. People, you're gonna get all sorts of people on the internet. I just, it does make me more appreciative that like the vast majority of people that I met within this community on the fucking internet are, pretty normal. Like people that I'd actually want to hang out with in real life, right? I don't really know too many people who like wake up in the morning and are like, you know what today I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get my revenge. Ha! It's like, what the fuck? It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Don't want to look through your Google search history for the love of God. Like, that would be scary as all hell. Nick B 33 says, hello, you big fuzzy bear. That's me. How's Metis? Metis, huh? Okay. Not familiar with this one. Metis. Oh, it's a crypto? All right. Trades on Bittrex. So it can't be like, well, it's pretty bad. I was going to say it can't be that bad, or at least can't be that big of a scam. I don't know what to make of a chart that looks like this, man. It's so waking everything. Maybe we can pull up the other one versus Ethereum, and that'll be a little bit more useful, perhaps. Let's see. Okay, maybe nope. That's completely unhelpful. All right, well, I guess we're relegated to this then. I guess this is all we can do. Short term, I'd be looking for this one. Maybe a short term bounce up to like 0.8%, and then very likely comes back down to your long term downside range at 0.6%. This is a bad chart, man. This is a very bad chart. Should have some hidden bearish divergence right here as well. This looks to me like another local high, and that is a lower high than this one over here. RSA made higher highs within the context of the downtrend. Yeah, I think that this one's going for the full retrace in the next week or so. How long has this one been around for? Yeah, only a couple months, actually only like a month and a half now. So not looking too hot right there, man. Not looking too hot. Let's see. Oh, Matic says Mona Lisa. Yeah, we can do this one. I'm curious to see where Matic is. That was like the dominant of the market months ago, but I suspect it's well, I haven't heard too much about it recently, and I do believe, yeah, Buck is kind of where we find this one at. What time frames are you looking at there, sir? On the daily, especially. Okay. Again, long term. You know, Bitcoin down to 32 to 33. This one very likely finds its way down to 75 cents. Daily, however, do I think that we bounce here first? Very likely, yes. 113.5 to 114. 114 is very, very likely. However, I would invalidate. Well, hold on. Let's first address exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so you're looking for a daily. Short term. Are we bouncy first? Yeah, very likely bouncy first. A very slight amount of bullish evidence come off the low. At the very least, I'd be looking for about 113.5, maybe even 114. However, I wouldn't really be looking at that as anything relevant other than just another lower high in the short-term timeframes, as long as you're below about 118. Above 118, you know, I would extend this one quite a fair bit up to 127, 130-ish region. But for right now, man, the daily is pretty nasty. Jesus fucking Christ, man. These things are getting absolutely torn apart. Dear Lord. Dear Lord, man, what does monthly look like? Yeah, not good right there as well. So I don't think it's gonna break down too much more in the short term. However, let's just go. Let me see what the 6 hour says right here as well. Do we have any hopium right here? Not really, no. Yeah, short term, a little bit of an extension of this bounce, but I don't think this is the bounce you're looking for. I think that this one grinds out the lows again, $1, and then probably puts in your bounce. But I think a bounce is just that, just a bounce, man. As long as this thing's especially below about 114.5. This one's obviously bearish on the daily, setting up for a move lower down to 75 cents or so. What's up? Yes, I'm aware, but METIS is bringing up the same thing over here. But I can look at this. It's only versus Ethereum. Okay, it is a massively different chart, to be fair. Yeah, this is actually okay. This is actually... It would look like a reaccumulation formation, a little bit of a falling wedge right there, to be fair. Not my favorite pattern of all time, but this one actually looks to play out. Momentum oscillator is also supportive of that. One of the few charts that I can say today is probably looking for some upside, short-term, medium-term, and long-term. 0.014 is where I'd be looking towards on the 4 hour, on the daily. You know, very likely back above about 0.046 or so. But this is against Ethereum, understand? So it's not against the dollar. So that just means that this thing's holding up a little bit better than Ethereum, which I suppose is a good sign. It's a better sign than not, right? But if you do break below about 0.113, I'd be looking for a big downside move down to about 8. Yeah, that's it, 8. 0.008, that is. So hopefully that was helpful there. And let's see, did we get Matic properly though? Hold on, let me just go back to Matic really quickly, because that one is throwing me for a bit of a loop. Where did I change my opinion on this one, on the daily specifically? Yeah, I don't really have a I mean, especially as long as this one's below about 114, there's no reason to change my opinion on the daily. But even then, bearish and very likely looking for lower lows as long as you're below about 1.25, 126 or so. Short term can bounce up all the way around there after maybe one more swipe at the current lows. But this one, not looking like it's holding up relatively well, I'll say. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Nimbo says AKN USD, sir. Is this the first alt to go to 0? Is this Acon coin? Yeah, it literally is Acon coin. Trades on Bittrex. Holy shit, how the fuck did that happen? I don't think it's actually going to go to 0. I mean, very few things actually do, but down to like mid-teens is very likely over time. Short term though, it's bouncy. Actually, this is one of the few charts that does look pretty damn good short term for a bounce up to like 30 to 35 cents or so. Fair enough. Let's see. Jeff Carver says, "Hey, Krown, all good, man. Hey, all good. My pleasure, sir. Can you check out FTM for 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily?" Yes. We do a video on this one as well. I haven't done a video on FTM in a long time. And I imagine there's good reason for that. Yeah, not looking too hot right here. People don't like it when you post bearish videos on altcoins. They really don't like it. Anyways, go down to your time frames here. Looking for a bounce first or later. Let's go see what they say over here. Not getting anything that's too obvious just yet. Daily's down as long as below about 123. Okay, that's not happening anytime soon. 12 hour is down as long as below about 132. That's definitely not happening anytime soon. 4 hours down as long as below about 107. That's also a little bit out of reach. Hourly is up as long as above 97 cents. So, not fucking good on this one. Looks like lower highs and lower lows to me, man. If this thing rallied up to 114, you know, that would be fair game in the short-term timeframes, but still overall bearish and very likely looking for another drive lower. I do think that this one will swipe somewhere down around the mid to upper 80-cent region before it's all said and done, and that's where I'd be looking for perhaps a greater bounce. Short-term timeframes, though, like a very, very short-term, like an hourly, which I don't know if you're super interested in or not. Can bounce up, like I said, to about 113.5, but again, that is still just another lower high. Other short and medium-term timeframes say that that's, you know, still one more drive a little bit lower. I would invalidate that. I would invalidate that with a move back above 119 and target moves back into the 135 to 137 range. That would obviously have bleed over effects into the daily and other higher term timeframes. But for right now, definitely under pressure. I do think that this one probably does put in some sort of a rally towards a $110, but I also do think it's probably going to get rejected there as well. Easier to watch Bitcoin for direction as always. But this thing, you know, I do think this thing's going to come down further before it's all said and done. Probably like mid 80 cent or so, and that's what I'd be looking for, and probably take some time as well. Major bearish divergence right here between this weekly high and this weekly high. If you're aggressive, which I do think is appropriate to be in this current context, you already look at this one confirmed, and you're probably looking at a move somewhere down around the 10 simple, which is rising up rapidly, but that will be in the mid 80s coming into next week. So it depends what time frame you're looking at. Short-term time frames, again, maybe one more swipe at the lows and then a little bit of a bouncy bounce. Any bounce that fails to get back above 118, I'm looking for 80 and a half cents coming into like the next week or two, and then that's kind of where I'd be looking for a little bit more of an interesting bounce. But for right now, short term, short term's the only one that actually has a little bit of hoping right there. So hopefully that was helpful. But man, this one's all over the place. It's not a good day for altcoins, sir. Rocky G, what's up, man? I've mentioned this plenty of times, but the weekly 5-day 30 SMA slope is playing out, thinking all bounces will be failed and governed by the 30. It is typically how it works out now, isn't it? Let's actually go double check this one. Actually, I haven't checked on this one for a while. Let me just pop them up over here, and let's see. Let's put on this one right here. It's going to be represented by the blue line in this case. There we go. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, we are trading below it right now. You know, of course, it's a long day left to go. 18 hours, 5 minutes to the dot right now. But if we do close anywhere below 42,000 bucks, and yeah, this will be our first closure below. Really, in like a month, a little bit over a month now. And yes, that would very likely imply that we do move lower through the mid to low $30,000 territory over the next couple of weeks here. Yeah, that would not be good. That would not be good. 5-day RSI, rejection of the bullish control zone, even losing the exponential there as well. 5-day Jewel is in a corrective posturing here, but correction after a nice upside move is obviously going to imply downside. So yeah, it is starting to align a lot more that Bitcoin probably does go to the mid to low $30,000 territory. There will be bounce along the way. I don't think it's happening today or tomorrow. I think if this is going to happen, probably like early October, if that. Ooh, some coffee burps coming up. But yeah, good call on that one. Actually, I'm going to take it off for right now, and actually pretty damn interesting right there. Thank you for bringing that one up, sir. Ooh, the coffee burp. Let me actually take a sippy sip of this water, man. I need to force these goddamn fumes down. There we go. There we go. Okay, Molotov, what's up, man? Good morning, sir. Unibright, UBT on the short medium term. What does that mean, sir? UBT, USD. Oops. There we go. It's on Bittrex, I guess. So I think I've looked at this one once or twice before. Short and medium term timeframes. All right, I'm going to go with a 4-hour and a 12-hour. Then let's just see what the daily says for right now. You know, long term, you know, have to give this one its credit. This has been a very, very good long term chart. Obviously, our bounce off the 55 as you would really hope for. A better sign than not. Short term, does it bounce back up to like 285 or so? Very likely, yes. However, short term is bearish as long as you're below about 295. So that is a clean 10 cents away. Of course, that would be invalidation, and you know anything's possible, right? But I'd still be looking for another swipe of the lows after a short-term upside move, assuming that 295 is not closed above, even on an hourly here. Even on an hourly, go to the 12-hour. Yeah, this looks like it wants to come lower, man. I wouldn't be surprised if this one comes down to like 230 on another downside move for Bitcoin. Probably not happening today or tomorrow, but maybe next week or so. Short-term timeframes. Or sorry, like a 4-hour right here. Do we see any divergences? No, we're just freshly breaking into the bearish control zone as well. Yeah, short term, one more try to the upside. Any sort of failure to get back above about 295, I'd be looking at least one more drive towards the current lows at around 250 to 255. And then probably try for a decent bounce there, and then perhaps set it up for the next down leg coming into next week or like early October. That's kind of what I'd be thinking on this one. This one can correct. This one can definitely a lot more. Jesus Christ, man. Man, this mark's getting fucking shredded today. Holy fucking moly. Dr. Colossus, what's up, man? Can you check out EGLD on the 4-hour daily? Sure. EG. This one's been very hot recently. Very hot topic now, hasn't it? Let's see. This is Elrond. And this one actually, if I recall, had a decent day yesterday. Yeah, and another chart that actually holds up relatively well here. Should we do a video on it? Yeah, you know what? Let's do a video on this one. Here we have Elrond, symbol EGLD versus the dollar. We're going to be doing a 4-hour and daily on this one, of which this one actually holding up relatively well. If I recall over here, yeah, top 10 best coins. This one actually was number 3 on the list with a gain of about 8.65%. Now, of course, this is being recorded when most of the market was massively down. Elsa's stepping over herself because she's a klutz, but overall, and so am I. But overall, good bounce to 55 thus far, which is a decent sign for the long term. Anyways, down to a 4-hour. Are we looking for a bounce first? Yes, I do think so. Short term could very easily pop back up around 217.5. I would look at that as the next sort of major area of interest, or that last 4-hour high right here on a wick basis, 228.73. Anywhere above there, I'd start to extend targets a lot, actually, all the way up to about 240 to 250-ish maybe. And that would look pretty damn good. If you start to close above there on a daily, I'd actually even go as far as saying that the correction is over, and this is going to look really, really good long term, which is interesting to see. Definitely very interesting to see, actually. Yeah, weekly already came down to the 10 symbol right here. One of the better actors today, definitely. Definitely one of the better actors, actually. Go check it out from a momentum offset perspective. See if it see if that supports the case for a short-term bouncy bounce first. Hourly is up as long as as long as we are above 194.5. Okay, good. Currently about 10 bucks above there. 4 hours up as long as above about 202. You know, might have one more swipe at around just below 200 bucks, but overall, yeah, I'd be looking for this one to bounce. Actually decent, showing some signs of bottoming out right here, at least for the short and medium term time frames, and then we'll come back to it later. Question is, if Bitcoin dumps out once again, which I actually do think Bitcoin's more in line for a bounce day than anything, where is this one going to find its way? Well, in validation on this one, very, very simply put, any sort of a daily closure below about 183.5, I'll be looking for another drive towards about 135 or so. And I don't think that's what's happening right here, but hey, you know, things, that's why we have invalidation points. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Elrond. Nice one. Let's see. What's up, Hanny? New sub here. Well, welcome, man. Good to meet you, sir. Link USD. All right, we'll look at Link versus the dollar right here. Let's see. Dollar. Yeah, okay. So let's actually follow up on this one as well. Or should we follow up on this one? Well, I mean, we already kind of got our target to the downside there at 21. So a bounce is to be expected right here. Should we do it? Should we not do it? We won't do it. We don't need to make the link Marines mad here. Anyways, okay, so let me just kind of follow up on the last couple of days. All right, so the last couple of days we said break below about 25 bucks would imply move all the way down to 20 to 21. We've gotten that thus far, actually at a current low of about 20.5. This is kind of a liquid zone down here, so it is to be expected for a bit of a bouncy bounce regardless whether you're bullish or bearish. How high can the bounce go? I mean, this bounce can go up all the way to about 23.5 without doing all that much on the daily. Short-term time frames, yeah, a little bit of bouncy behavior right here. Let's see if we have any. Nope, no divergences, not good. But 4-hour jewel showing a little bit of upside potential, and hourly same thing as well. Yeah, I would be looking for this one to bounce up somewhere around about 23.80 to 24 bucks. Hard chart to love long term as long as you're below 25 still, though. That is kind of like the line in the sand for myself. But short term, bouncy, come back to it after that. Invalidation to the downside would be, you know, I wouldn't say a wick lower, but any sort of a closing lower low than our current lows. And well, at that point, you start to get ready for a drive into the teens, probably somewhere down around about 17.5 to 18 bucks or so. But for right now, it does look like continuation here, to be honest with you. You know, we do still see a hold of your short signal on daily jewel. Here's what we look like over here. See, okay, 4-hour is doing what? Yep, very likely short-term bounce. Very likely short-term bounce. Daily's going to be down as long as it's below about 25. Yeah, 25 is the pivot. Although short-term, I would be looking for a bounce here. 23 bucks, very, very likely in the short term, and then I'd probably extend above there to that 20, just below 24 bucks. If you do see any sort of even a 4-hour closure above 25 bucks, I'd say that this correction's over and this thing's going to pop back up all the way to 27, maybe even 29 bucks. But for right now, definitely under pressure. Even though short term, I am looking for a bounce there. All right, cool. Crookface says, Coke on the weekly, please, sir. Looking for some bear action. Okay, you're looking at the old dinosaur coins over here, aren't you? These ones, yes. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. What the fuck? This is not what I expected on Coke. What the fuck? What time frame are you looking at here, sir? Weekly. Okay, got it. Weekly in a bouncy area, yes. However, well, no, it's just in a bouncy area. Actually really like the setup right here. Okay, so when you see weekly BBWP very, very low like this, and it's in a corrective kind of phase coming down to the 21 after a nice up or just continuation of this very long-term macro uptrend, I look at that as pretty damn good. Of course, you know, nothing's infallible right here, but if this one does start to break below about 380 on a weekly closure, I would actually look for this thing to correct further down. Probably going to be more of a function of what the major indices do, and again, I do think that major indices bounce here first before potential further downside, probably in October. If this one does play with that, I'd be looking somewhere around about 330 to 340ish region, but for right now, it's okay. Daily's kind of been, you know, under pressure right there. I'd like to see the daily get above about 394.5 in order for it to show a little bit of life, and then look for a return to the prior range highs about 410 or so to 415 would look okay. But for right now, you know, yeah, this one on its own is actually pretty damn good, especially compared to most of the market. But you know, if the major indices dump out a little bit more, this thing's going to come down hard too. Nothing's safe. 340 to 350 is where I'd be looking towards. If that were to happen, and where would I start to confirm that move? Daily below about 378.5, or let's just call it 379. Make it a nice round even number. So 379, kind of like the line in the sand on that one. See what did Much say right here? Yeah, I'd probably be looking for a bounce first and foremost. Monthly. I mean, there are a lot of things pointing to this 340 to 350 area. To be honest with you, that's kind of where I'd be waiting for. Because I do think traditional markets are going to correct further into October, and this thing's probably going to come down to those areas. But you know, if I was playing this by my strategy, I do have to look at this as a pivot for first and foremost, and very likely to bounce here. And I do think it's going to bounce here. Just does that bounce actually put in, you know, a continuation move? I don't think so. Symbol MS, what's up, man? If Bitcoin dominance long term is heading down, then long term is it better to hold on to alts? I mean, that is a question for you to answer, obviously. Well, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing on this chart. Okay, do we have a downtrend here? Yes, we do, certainly. Where's your downtrend active? Well, as long as you're below about 47.5, especially, I'd even say 46 right here on this specific chart. Now, with that said, we do have bullish evidence come off the lows. I don't know how much I trust that on a chart like this, you know, a Bitcoin dominance chart, which is like a metric that I'm not, you know, a big fan of to begin with. But the question is okay, basically, okay, so if you're going to ask a question like that, my assumption is, or at least what I would intuitively think is that, okay, I'm underwater on my alts. Should I just hold them right now? Or maybe not underwater, but should I hold my alts and maybe eat up like what would be a pretty significant move? I know that it doesn't sound like too much, but this would be a significant move, and you know, they're going to come down a lot versus their Bitcoin parents if and when that does happen. The question is, though, if you're wrong on that, or if I'm wrong on this, where your lower highs still come in around like the mid 40s, well, what does that mean? It means you just held on to something that you didn't really need to hold on to. So it's one of those things, like if you really do want to be in altcoins, and I'm just speaking towards what my preferences would be here. So if I had that preference, like I want to be in altcoins, and I'm looking at this right here, and I do think that we're going to go up regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish. If you're bullish, obviously, you're going to look for this one to actually put in a reversal back above about 47%. If you're bearish, you're looking for a lower high, probably somewhere around about 45.5 to 46%. Do I just hold my alts here regardless of that? Probably not, because I know that I could reposition here and have less risk if I am going to be wrong on a move back above about 47 to 47.5, especially because that's going to very likely rip a lot more all the way up to the low 50s at that point. So be aware of kind of where we're at right now. But for what it's worth, that's something to consider. It's obviously your money at the end of the day, but yeah, I do expect that this one does very, 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 very likely trade up here. So take that as you will, and hopefully that was helpful. Michael Roth, what's up, man? Love your response about the troll earlier, man. It's the internet. It's the internet. You're gonna run into all sorts of type of people. And you don't want to judge them too harshly as well, because probably someone like that, they haven't had too good of an experience, and they don't need extra shit on their life. They need something positive so that they can get on fucking board with the rest of humanity, right? Anyways, any updates on Cello from yesterday? Yeah, let's check this one out. I wonder if this one held up well or not. Yep, still held up well. Actually, pretty damn good here. Very, very interesting to see. All right, so here we have Cello, CELO or CGLD, whatever it is, being requested by Mr. Michael Ruth. We can look at a general overview on this one as we did follow up on it yesterday and still holding up really, really well here, actually, all things considered. Again, please understand the context of this market right now. We are recording this video on the 22nd of September, where most of this market's down, big right now, and this one's actually holding up, and not just holding up, it's maintaining its long-term uptrend. Even a short-term uptrend as well, it looks like. Let's go down to a 4 hour right here. Okay, 4 hour is down, is downside angled. I would be looking for a short-term downside move somewhere around about 560, just 565 or so. But I would not call this a bearish chart. This one is actually quite bullish, especially as long as you're not breaking below about 540, even on a short-term time frame like a 4 hour. Now, 560 in this case. If 560 does break on a 4 hour, I would extend downside moves all the way to 480 to 490ish region, and very likely look for a bounce there. But again, this one deserves a lot of credit just for not looking like shit, in line with most of the rest of this market. And actually looking quite constructive here as well. Weekly looks like we're looking for continuation long term. Let's go down to the very low term timeframes like an hourly. Yeah, so short term timeframes are downside angled. I would be looking for a move somewhere between about 565 to 570 or so. Let's see if I'm adjust that over here, and then we'll come up with something on the daily. Daily is actually to be pointed down if we do close today below about $6 or so. So it is in a bit of a corrective phase, yes, but that's okay. That's to be expected after a nice move. Yep, short term is very much down, 695 magical number, and hourly is freshly down. Yeah, so this one very likely does want to test some downside here. I'd be looking for a bounce around this region, and then very likely over the next week or so, maybe gives another try to the upside. Long term, I have no issues with this chart at all, especially as long as you are above about 480, in fact. But if you do start to break 480, this would invalidate the long-term bullishness, at least in my eyes, and I would be looking for a return back down to, below $4 before anything else. But for what it's worth, I mean, this is pretty good coming into the, good for an altcoin coming to the end of September here. 5 days, same thing as well. I'm never going to hit a 5 day chart or any chart that closed on new all-time highs, and this one's closing tonight. So if you are looking at the longer term, any sort of a closure by end of day today at 8 p.m. Eastern time above, especially $6, but even 580, it's going to look really, really good for long-term continuation. And I expect that this one very likely will after a bit of a short-term, medium-term correction is what it's looking like. So short and medium-term down, long-term still good, but that's going to take some time to play out, obviously. So hopefully that was helpful, and there you go for Cello. Nice one, man. DYOR says 1 USD. Okay, this is Harmony. Let's see where this one held up. And a lot of these things like Matic, like One, and Theta were like so popular months ago, and now just absolutely nothing with them. And I suspect it's because of this right here. Again, long term, I actually don't have a major issue with a chart that looks like this. I mean, obviously it's pretty fucking good, but I'd absolutely love to see it down around about 8 to 9 cents or so. That'd be a lovely area, to be fair. Short term though, sorry, you're asking about a daily, so let's actually just address that right now. I'd be looking for a bounce around this region, maybe one more swipe down to about 11 cents or so, but I would be looking for a bounce after that, very likely to about 14 cents, and then come back after that. Now, if that bounce does actually get higher than yesterday's high, which is 1483 or 1484, so essentially I would extend targets all the way up to about 16.5, maybe even 17.5 cents or so. But for right now, short-term timeframes, not really showing too many signs of bottoming just yet. I do think you have one more sweep of the lows first, somewhere down around about 11 cents, and then try for the bounce from there. Kind of similar to Bitcoin. It's in a bouncy area, but short-term timeframes do look like they want to have maybe one more try lower first. And of course, invalidation on that, just for a general continuation move to the downside, would be a daily below about 11 cents. And then we can start to look for deeper retracements down to 9 cents and probably play out that weekly move coming into next week. But for right now, more in a bouncy area than not. So I give it the benefit of the doubt, at least for the short and medium term timeframes. And then come back to it probably next week. So hopefully that was helpful, sir. What's up, Simply Gains? Hey, man, it's been a long time. Holy shit. Good to see you still around, sir. Monthly bear div on Ethereum USD, algo on the weekly support. Okay, so we already looked at algo and actually upload a video on it a little bit later. We can look at Ethereum right now and actually do a video on it too. Is there bearish divergence on monthly for Ethereum? Technically not right now. Technically not, because we do not have a confirmed local high. However, is this could this start to shape up as a local high coming into maybe October? If we close this month like anywhere below about 33.4, yeah, basically below 3,300 or so. Yes, absolutely. And then I would be actually, well, first technical target would be like 2,200, and then second technical target would be 15 to 1,600. So that would be something to look forward to coming into October, November. But I'm not of that opinion just yet. Actually, I do still think that this is well, I'd give it a chance to bounce here first. All right, let me record a video on this one after I address that question. So here we have Ethereum versus the dollar, and what do we have? We have a little bit of a breakdown now, don't we? Very similar to Bitcoin right here. I do suspect that very short-term timeframes are probably suggesting maybe one more grind out of the lows. I'm not too confident on that, but if we do see another move down somewhere around about 2,700, give or take $25 from there, that's where I'd be looking for a greater bounce on the daily. We are coming in line around the 200 simple and 200 exponential average right here as well. And I believe we have maybe, or let me just double check, have we hit the technical target off of a head and shoulders top right here? Pretty damn close, but it would actually be pointed a little bit lower. That'll be negated with any sort of a daily closure above 3,200, just for what it's worth, for an invalidation point on the other side. But for right now, short-term timeframes, again, I'm not seeing too many signs of a short-term bottom here just yet, which does make me think that we put in maybe another wick or two somewhere down around the current lows at about 27, maybe even as low as 2,600 before the next general bounce. And then but the basic message that I do want to have on this is that I'm not looking for a complete shattering of this below, especially below about like 26 or 25.50 until this one actually has a chance to bounce first. And if the bounce does start to get back above, like I said about, sorry, I said 30, did I say 3,300 earlier? I would actually move that down all the way to about 3,100. If the bounce does fail to get back above about 3,100 from that region, then I would be looking for next major drives to the downside, obviously. Targets would be down around about 23 to 2,400 or so on the 5-day. Weekly is in a bouncy area here still. So, I do expect that, I'd still give this one a chance to bounce first on the daily after maybe one more short-term, very, very short-term downside move. But yeah, I'm not getting too many signs that this one's, I'm not getting too many good signals on this one right now. Let's go over here and check out momentum offset and see where we're at. We'll come up with a bit of ranges as well for the short-term timeframes, and then close it up. Hourly is up as long as above about 2,800 or so. So hey, at least you got that. But it is an hourly after all 4 hours going to be freshly down as long as we are below 2,900 and also within the bearish control zone. This is what makes me think that we probably have one more sweep of the lows actually at least. 12 hour, what are we seeing right here? 30.40, so that's probably not happening. Well, I wouldn't say that's not happening, but probably not today. And daily is down as long as below about 3,100 or so. So yes, that is matching up very, very well with the daily pivot right there. I would be generally bearish on this one as long as you're below about 3,100 or so. Anyways, going down to the hourly right here, let's actually mark off some areas right now. Short term, again, does this one come back down to 2,700 or anywhere around there? It's completely fine. My sort of proclivity on this one is that even the hourly area is 3,100 to the upside as well. Wow. If this one does want to play at a bounce after a little bit of a short-term downside move, again, I'm not too confident on that. I would be looking at about 2,950 to $3,000, and that would be very likely the next lower high if this trend is going to continue. So fair enough, Short-term time frames not looking too hot right there. Not really showing what you want to see on a major local low, just maybe a short-term local low, and we're not even quite there just yet. 2-day did close yesterday. Actually sliced right through the 55 right there. So again, short-term, a little bit of an ebb and flow at the lows. Probably does put in a rally somewhere around 3,000. But any sort of failure to get back above 3,100, even on a 4-hour, is just going to set it up for more continuation of the downside into the more long-term targets of 23 to 2,400 or so. How is that going to change things on the monthly charts over here? Let's just double check. I do this. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so one of the big pieces of hopium for this one that I was looking at was the higher term timeframes, of which still possible by end of month. We got another just under 9 days left to go, but any sort of a monthly closure below 3,400, and this one is not going to look too hot. Quarterly, any sort of a closure below 2,500 is going to look fucking terrible coming into end of year. But for right now, there's still a little bit of hopium on this one. I'm curious where the bi-monthly is. Yeah, bi-monthly still kind of just testing the top side of it. I'm still inclined to say long term, it might actually end up being okay right here. But it's it's a long 9 days left until the end of the month here. So until then, a little bit of an ebb and flow at the lows, and then I'd be praying to Boologis for a bounce that gets back above about 3,100. If that happens, that would look pretty damn good coming to the end of the month. For general continuation around end of the year, not necessarily right now. I think at best, it kind of hangs within this territory right here. And let me just throw in some magical lines, kind of that I'll be paying attention to. There's a 2,700 to 2,750-ish region right there. Here's a major area right here, obviously. Anywhere between here it's just sideways action, obviously, not really going to tell you too much, but obviously breaking below is going to, well, start to initiate those more downside technical targets down to 23 to 24. Anywhere above here, that's going to start to really look good for end of year, especially if that happens before end of month here at about 3,100. And sorry, I almost said Bitcoin, but if Ethereum does start to trade back above 3,100, even on a 4-hour, I would extend short-term moves all the way up to 32 to 32.50 or so. So a lot of edge on this one, but for right now, kind of similar to Bitcoin, it's hanging at the lows and probably puts in a bit of a bounce. All bounces under 3,100 are just lower highs, however. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Ethereum. Let's see. We got over here. What's up, Mike? VRA. Okay, VRA. Is this Veracity? All right, let's see. 4-hour daily weekly. Let's start off with the higher term time frames first. Okay, correct move down to the 10 simple. Pretty in line with most other things in this market. Daily broke below, actually even got an open and closure below the 55. That is not good. That is not good, sir. 4-hour. Sloppy on the lower term time frames. I do expect that you probably have one more drive at the lows, very similar to yesterday. One more drive at the lows, and then probably does put in a bounce somewhere up to about 3 cents or so. Daily, don't like it. Long term, especially as long as below 3.3 cent. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but you got it. You got a breakdown right here. You got a reversal. You got trend going to the downside. You got daily jewel to the downside, and you got volatility increasing. That's a setup for more downside overall. To be fair, probably down to about 2.2, maybe 2.25 cent or so. Fair enough. Again, hey, if it can't get above those levels, then I'd be happy to say that the correction's over. But for right now, any move up to about 3 cent or so is it's probably just another lower high, to be fair. But I do expect that this one will bounce relatively soon after maybe one more drive slightly lower, just around about 2.7 or so cent. It might have even already happened, and I'd be looking for that rally up to about 3 cent. Even on the short-term time frame, it's not looking too hot as long as you're below about 3.3 to 3.2.5. Hopefully we're good there, sir. What's up, Mr. Isaac? Appreciate that. But feel free to also have a message as well. Maybe fish one out later on. What's up, Gohan's mom? Good morning to you. Bitcoin Ryan Gosling channel, please. Can you explain? Can I explain what? Can I explain like the Gaussian channel, or can I explain Ryan Gosling, or can I explain? Like what general context are you looking for here? I'm guessing you're probably looking at the context of the 5-day, because that's the one that I spoke about quite frequently in the past. Looking at this right here, we have tested into the medium band of it. You typically do expect a bounce from there. Now we've already had a more than $2,000 bounce from there, again closing at the end of today. But if you do start to close below the medium band, I don't think it's happening today, but perhaps as early as next week. Tentacle target is to the downside of the bottom of the Gaussian channel. And this is a relatively similar setup to what we saw over here. Broke down first to the medium band, then rallies up all the way to the top side of it, which is currently at about 48,000 bucks. Now that will obviously come down as this one does close, but eventually does test all the way to the downside of it, and even breaks below it over time. Same thing over here as well. Breaks down to the medium band, puts in one rally, puts in 2 rallies to the top side, rejection, and once it breaks the medium band, straight shot to the downside of it, and then even breaks down longer term over there as well. This one, same thing, although in a much more expedited fashion as well. Let's see what Bitcoin. Do I want to play a scalpy scalp? Maybe we bounce first. Maybe we do bounce first, actually. Let's see where we're at right now. Do you have any positions on? Actually, I forgot to show my my testnet account. I should show my testnet account yet again. Mostly because this is the week. This is the big week for my testnet account. Wink, wink. But all of the premium from this week's expiration coming into the account right now. In fact, my P&L has actually gone up in the last couple of days here, which is good, which is very, very good. But that is the beauty of options. So once this week expiration happens and I clear a lot of shit off of my off my sheets here, I'll start to position for probably end of year, but not until then, because this is a pretty important week here. All things considered. So there we go. All right, sweet. Let me just pop back in over here. Okay, put it back on my rat face, and let's see what else is got. D's Nuts says, long time lurker since you were in Chicago. Well, shit, man. Good to meet you, sir. 669, my fucking man. Love it. Yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Your thoughts about Dixie? Looks very bullish. Not sure if you care. I do care about Dixie, yes. Especially if I'm trading Forex, and I have been bullish on this one for a while now. And is it warranted? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh fucking yeah. Oh fucking yeah. Yeah, this one's pretty damn bullish. You know, it depends what time frame you're looking at. He didn't really give a time frame, but yeah, pretty much bullish in everything. I suspect we're playing out hidden bullish divergence right there. Yep, very, very low volatility within the context of an uptrend. We're looking for next move up somewhere around your prior range highs before the general breakdown last September, actually 1 year ago, somewhere around about 94 and a quarter to 95 actually. Long term, let's go check out what the quarterly looks like here. Quarterly is not too hot actually long term, but I do expect that this one does have short term continuation to the upside. Now this is going to look really, really good if if this month closes above about $94, and I do think we're going to test around there before the month is over. The question is, do we close above there? And to be fair, it actually does look like it probably will. If and when that does happen, I'd extend targets significantly, somewhere around about $96, maybe even all the way up to 97. This one, this one had a fucking nasty move last July. It can do the same thing to the upside in this case. And is that going to put downside pressure on Bitcoin? It's hard, generally, yes. Generally, yes, that is going to be the relationship. But the thing is that it's not a direct correlation because Dixie is obviously the dollar's value measured against a basket of other fiat currencies. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's getting devalued or valued against Bitcoin. It just means, relative to other fiat currencies. But with this going up, I imagine it probably does not bode too well for Bitcoin, just generally speaking. Although, if you go through the history of time on this one, the correlation there or inverse correlation is really what you're looking for. Hasn't really been there. I mean, I can show you this right here. I think that people who try to trade Bitcoin and then look at this are, massively misled. If you're trading Forex, then absolutely, man, this is great. This is a great thing to be looking at. But in this case right here, I mean, let me just give an example. November 2020. Let's see, January 2021 all the way to April 2021, this thing rallied off the lows. What was Bitcoin doing during that time? Bitcoin was rallying 3x off of its prior all-time high from $20,000 to $60,000. And over here, Bitcoin was correcting in November. Same thing with Dixie, right? So I don't think that I think that the relationship is massively overblown if you are looking at this to be to play with cryptocurrencies, But if you are playing Forex, then yes, 100%, very, very important. What's up, Mr. Surge? MTV, Multivec, bullish divergence on the 6 hour. Cheers from Zurich. Man, Zurich, I always look at pictures of that place. It looks like a Disneyland for adults. It looks awesome, man. Looks really, really pretty. Okay, wow. What the fuck? Completely different chart. I was not expecting this, sir. All right, let's do a video on this one. Here we have Multivac, symbol MTV versus the dollar, and we actually have another very interesting chart, especially on a day like today. Now, with that said, if this thing does close today anywhere above, what is this? Just, anywhere above about 1.95 cents, look pretty damn good actually coming into the rest of the week, and I would be considering this as hidden bullish evidence right here, and it would be 1, 2, 3 drives. We do have lower lows on the RSI, and this would be a higher low, so that's how I'd kind of confirm it in that case. And I would be targeting to move back around the prior highs of this, and this would just look like reaccumulation before further continuation long term. Short term time frames like a 4 hour, what are we looking like right here? Okay, so I would invalidate that obviously to the downside below about 1.8, about 1.8 on a 4 hour closure, looking for a deeper move down to 1.5 cents first, and then probably another bounce there, then probably does fail over time into next week down to like 1.3 cents. But for right now, I'd give it the benefit of the doubt. A chart that looks completely different than most of the other ones. This one's not like most of the charts actually. Let's see, what are we looking for over here? Daily Stokes will actually cross back onto the upside above 2 cents. That would look really, really good. Any sort of a daily closure today above 2 cents can look really, really good. 4 hour will turn back down with a closure below about 1.92, so we actually are below there right now, to be fair, and hourly remains up as long as above 18.50. I actually like this chart, to be fair. Again, short-term timeframes, if you are looking at a 4 hour instead of a daily, I'd say anywhere above 2.1 cents, it's going to look really, really good, actually, for a retest of the highs and very likely long-term continuation. Speaking of the long-term weekly, very good. One of the best charts, or among the best charts that we have seen today. So I do think that deserves a lot of credit. Monthly, for what it's worth, it's not a whole hell of a lot of history here, but closed on to all-time highs, not necessarily bearish in my experience. So yeah, man, Multivac, pretty fucking good, actually. Very impressive, but do be aware of those invalidation points, and hopefully that was helpful, sir. Nice one, sir. Winning choice 87. Hello, sir. Algo USD. We already got that one, actually. I will upload a video on this one a little bit later, I think, or what's it going to do that? Let me just double check on this one. Maybe not, because it did actually break down. I'd be looking at maybe one more run at the lows, like 157 to 156, and then very likely a bounce. Bounces up to 1 3/4 is completely fine, but as long as you're below 180, I'd remain bearish on this one. That also does imply above 180. I would be looking for this one to reclaim the prior range highs somewhere in the low $2 region. But for right now, man, I do think that you probably get one more swipe lower and then bounce. Again, let's go down to an hourly right here. Very, very short-term time frames are bouncy first, however. 170 to 172 is where I'd be looking for on the hourly. Probably puts another lower high there and then comes back down and retest lows, and that's probably the next bounce that I'm looking for. That would be negated if you do, again, trade above about 180, and I'd look for that move into the $2 region. But for right now, under pressure with the rest of the market in a bouncy area, for the medium-term time frames, short-term time frames bouncy, medium-term time frames bouncy, and daily bouncy as well. But I wouldn't be surprised to see one more run around the lows. I would invalidate that and look for a decent downside with any sort of a daily blow or even a 4-hour blow about 1.5, 155 region. This one's gonna look really, really bad. And I'd be looking for a move to about 140 after that. So fair enough on that one, but let it play out the bounce first and then come back to it after that. I think that would be that would be the appropriate stance, at least for myself. What's up, Dan Daya? Yep, we got Ethereum, and we'll be uploading that a little bit later, so all good. Mr. Raj says ALBT. Okay, ALBT. I'm not familiar with this one. All right, Alliance blocked. All right, new one for me. Jesus Christ, man, nasty downside move right there. Let's see what we got right here. Can we get a better chart than this, maybe? Okay, here we go. That one makes a little more sense. Although this one has a lot more history. Let's see, what about this one? Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. What time frames are we looking at too? No time frames given. Short-term bouncy, probably pops back up to like 83. But bearish even on the short term as long as you're below about 89 cents or so. Let's see, daily. Do we look for lows within this region? Maybe if you close today back above 83 cents or so, maybe I could look for another move just shy of $1, but this one's weird. Hold on, let's find another chart for this. And all sorts of weird shit on this one. It's not a good sign. Okay, we did that one. We did. Let's go back to this one. Okay, that is a fucking nasty move right there. You know what? I'd give this one a chance. Actually, I'd give this one a chance here. Floppy is all fucking hell, man. Floppy is all hell. Look, back above about 89.5 cents. Actually would look for this one to, or I would even say that the correction on this one's over, and I'd be looking for a move back above $1 to 105 or so. Daily over here. Yeah, big pivot at about 82 cents above there. I'd start to look at this one with better eyes. As long as you're below there, all bounces are just that, just bounces. And I do think that you will, probably test around 87 cents or so. Is that in line with that region? Yeah, that's actually above that region. So hey, if that were to happen, that'll look pretty damn good. But until that happens, any sort of a lower high right there and failure to close the daily back above about 83 cents, I'd be looking for this one to come down significantly, mid to low 60s at that point. But give it a chance first. Give it a chance first, what I'd say. Because I am more of the opinion on Bitcoin that we bounce first short term and then probably ground at the lows again, and then put in the real bounce. That's kind of what I'm looking for. What's up, Mr. Isaac? Good morning to you and Elsa. Hey, good morning to you as well. Okay, so you said you had a bad trade for different reasons, okay? Not a beginner, closer to an immediate trader, followed trade plan, but didn't play out. Could use some inspiration words after a decent hit. Okay, yeah, let's actually record this one. I think this would be a good video to put out on the YouTubes as well. And let me just take a sippy sip of this water. Oh, god damn. That water, man, it just brings you right back to life. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so here we have a really, really good question from Mr. Isaac. He says, I am not a beginner. I'm close to an intermediate trader. I followed my trade plan, but didn't play out. Could use some inspiration words after a decent hit. All right, well, inspiration is not what you want, man. What you want is discipline, my friend. But I understand, anytime that you do take a hit to your P&L, anytime that you take a decent hit to your trading equity, obviously doesn't feel good. I mean, that's what your emotions are for. It's to tell you that whatever you're doing right now is, well, it's not good. But here would be my question back to you. Okay, so it sounds like you have a trading plan. So it sounds like you're good there. have you back tested your trading plan? And I'm actually watching the bottom of the comments right now. So if you just want to, shoot it back at me, that would actually be really, really helpful. But if you've tested your trading plan and you tested it in the way that I show in the program, and it sounds like you are at least in one of the programs, but make sure that you watch the video that is after the trade strategy video that explains how to back test your strategy. Because if you have done that, you should have statistics on your strategy that are very well tested. And if you have that, then your emotions, yes, you're going to feel that way. It doesn't necessarily truly go away. I mean, anytime you take a loss, like, we're kind of just built like that as human beings until you become a fucking monk. But going from there, you have to trust in those statistics. That is your edge as a trader, is being able to just play that out almost as if you were a robot over time, because you know that the more times that you play that out, the more times it's going to work in your favor, assuming that your trade plan and your back testing and also forward testing as well has shown that it will be a successful plan. But you will also notice within that, and I'm still waiting for comments down here, but I still don't see that you've responded. But going into that, you have to understand that your emotions are, they are built that way, and they will kind of subside over time. But you do have to right now make sure that you can dial back in the actual behaviors that are going to work. So this can go multiple different ways. First things first, if you do not have tested strategy and actually tested it yourself with the data, and we showed it in the way that we showed in there, and I can just tell you right now, it's like at least 100 for the back testing phase, and then for the forward testing phase, I'd say 25 to 50 depending upon your time frame, and then kind of ramp it up as you feel more and more comfortable with it and you get more and more data. I think that's completely fine. Although again, personal preference right here. But if you have that, you can trust in the statistics completely fine. And it's going to be baked in. You have to realize logically first, and then over time it'll flood into your emotions. But logically first, you have to realize that if you have a strategy that has a, 70% win rate, right? 30% of the time you are going to lose. If you take 10 trades, 3 of them, statistically speaking, are going to be losers. So it's baked in. And while you can feel bad about that, you can certainly feel bad about making a quote unquote bad trade, which is actually not a bad trade in my opinion. A bad trade is when you don't follow your plan. That's when you actually have made a bad trade. A good trade is when you follow your plan, because you cannot control the outcome. You should know about what the outcome is going to be over time. But that is to be expected. And if it's to be expected, why would you logically feel that way? And now I know that logically and emotionally are two different things, and you can't really control that, but what you need to understand is that if you can practice these behaviors, that over time, typically somewhere between about 30 to 90 days, your emotions will start to come in line with your actions and your logical thought processes. And while, it's still not gonna like feel great to fucking take a loss, obviously, you're just gonna be like, all right, well, that one was a loss, but I know that if I just keep on repeating these processes, keep on repeating these behaviors, then over time it will work out for myself. And that's where my edge can be as a trader. And that's all that it needs to be. And that will come with losses and gains. But at the end of the day, again, assuming that you've actually done the work on testing your strategies, then you can trust that will work out over time. That's where you want to be. And let me just double check back in. No, I don't see anything right there. But yeah, a very, very important thing to understand, just because of the simple fact that, we're all going to deal with that. There is no trading strategy, to my knowledge, that is 100% successful all time, every time. I mean, there are such things as 10 sigma events. There's such things as black swans, where, most trading strategies, get blown up. I mean, that's, that's what happened in 2008, right? With a lot of the banks who are running, very, very small strategies, and then one day of craziness, or just like a month of craziness, basically like wipes out like 10 years of profits. Kind of fucking crazy. So with that in mind, make sure that you have those behaviors set in first. If you have that, then you can trust. In that, and just understand that your emotions, they move slower, obviously, than your thoughts and actions, which essentially is your logical thought processes. So it'll just come into alignment over time. But again, that is hinged upon the most fucking important fact, that you've tested your strategy and you have the statistics that support it. If you do not have that, then you cannot trust in any of what I said right now, and you can expect only, probably long-term losses, to be fair. So a really, really important part right there. Really, really important part. And this is why it's very, 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 very critical to actually test your strategies. Otherwise, you don't really have a strategy at that point, right? But it sounds like, you are aware. So I just want to say this because I will be putting this video on YouTube and to a general audience. I don't want somebody to hear that and be like, oh, I had a loss, but it's okay. It's like, no, it's not fucking okay if you don't have a goddamn strategy. Like, Jesus Christ, man, think about this. But yeah, man, hopefully that was helpful. And there you go. Nice one. All right, cool. What's up, Mr. Andrew Mo? Polkadot. Yeah, let's look at this one. Look at this one. Polkadot. Dot versus the dollar. Bouncy first. All right, looks like we are going to get a little bit of bouncy first. Wouldn't mind a move back up somewhere around about 28 and 3/4, maybe as much as 29 or so. Short term. What time frames were we looking at here, though? No time frames given. Just a dot. Probably somewhere around just above 28 bucks or so. Pretty important closure today, however. Any sort of a closure basically that fails to get above 28 bucks today, and I would be looking for another downside move maybe later this week, probably early next week, somewhere down around about 24 bucks. Until then, though, I would give it a chance here first. It very likely is going to fulfill that alongside Bitcoin and probably carry on a bit of a bounce somewhere around about 30 bucks or so on the daily. Hourly, yeah, looking okay here. I mean, we're in a bouncy territory first and foremost, so again, my main message today is that it's kind of similar to yesterday. I'm not looking for any like major downside continuation, maybe another wick down there or so, but ultimately this is a bouncy area, very, 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 very likely. Speaking of Bitcoin, let's see where we at. Hey, there we go. Nice. Bitcoin looking for a move, probably somewhere right around 43, maybe even 43,500 bucks from here. What's up, Mr. Ash Roberts? QNT versus the dollar. Then of course it's not us. Quant. Hair. What the fuck? Okay, my hair is actually getting too long and gets in my eyes. It's not good. Okay, let me just double check on the videos today. We can straighten my hair. Please do not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6. That's too many. All right, Quant. Actually looking pretty damn good. Would have already hit my short-term target on that one. Look, any sort of a 4-hour closure above about 310 or so, I'd extend targets on this one all the way up to 330, maybe even 340 or so. This would look okay. We don't have too much history here, which is not too helpful. Maybe we could go to KuCoin, KuDerp coin. Let's see, what does a weekly look like? You kind of hit your first corrective target, but I don't usually see those hold up over time, to be fair. Short term, yeah, very likely extends move somewhere around about 300 bucks. If you start to close above that 310 region, I'd extend it to, 330. And then come back to it after that. Daily, kind of same thing. I'd need to see a daily closure above about 320, and then I'd say, okay, this one looks okay, and I'd at least look for a move back up to like 345, 350-ish region on the daily. The real G squared says, thoughts on Charlie C3? Is this a chart? If it is, I'm certainly not familiar with it, man. I have no idea what you're referencing here. If you're still in the comments right now, could you like give me a ticker if it's a ticker, or if it's just like a comment, then it's not registering a bell with myself. Charlie C3. C3 I only know from Call of Duty, man, and that blows people up. But Charlie, I don't I don't know what that is, man. Hey, all good, Mr. Matt Rutledge. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for that nice positive message. Andrew Mo's back again. It's like every time I tell him, give a fucking time frame. Nope, just economy. All right. Economy, huh? Oh, and there he is again. What the fuck? What was this one? Eco-me. Eco-me. This thing? Okay. Try this. Actually okay here. Another higher low on the daily, and this one's probably looking for another move back around about 0.6 of a cent. Does this one continue long term? Actually, probably yes. This one's completely fine as long as you're above 0.5 of a cent or half a cent right here. I'd actually be looking for this one to go sideways. No, this is actually decent. One of the better charts we've seen today. Yeah, weekly just stabs to 21 and up. Yep, I'd be looking for a long-term continuation up to just shy of like 0.8 of a cent or so. Yeah, D3 is in Cardano. Okay, what the fuck is it? Okay, I don't think anything's popping up here. No, it's not that. I don't think anything's popping up right there. I'll just wait. Charlie is a project on Cardano. Okay, it's basically a link. Unfortunately, whatever it is, C3 is a poop coin, my dude. Sounds like it. I mean, look, if it's not on TradingView, that's usually like a sign that it's either incredibly new or like it's just, you know, not that good. other than that, man, if you're asking like a fundamental question, I have no opinion on that. I'm not a fundamental person. There are much better people than me for something like that. And I should not even speak. I should not even have the word fundamental in my vocabulary when it comes to trading. I also don't really think that fundamentals matter too much because you get some like fucking Dogecoin rallying up from 1 cent to 60 cents when it has no business doing such things, right? All right, Andrew Mill wants to look at BNB. Yeah, we can look at that one. Again, no time frame given, so I'm just gonna roll with this one, baby. BNB looks like shit on the weekly. Because I don't really know what time frame you're going with. I don't really know where to go with this one. Short-term bouncy, very likely back up to 360. I would start to change my opinion on the medium term, back above about 375. But short-term bouncy, anything below 375 is just another lower high before probably another stab at the lows. Above 375, I would look for a nice move actually all the way up to probably $400. And that would start to look okay on the daily, but all higher term timeframes are kind of turning down here. Weekly's bearish, monthly's, well, monthly's not bearish, but does show some downside. 5-day closing today. You know, wouldn't mind another move coming into next week, somewhere down around about 300 to 315 or so. Not too hot right there, barring any sort of a daily closure today below about $400. It's not impossible, but I don't think it's looking too good there, man. The real G squared says, which indicators would you recommend a new person? Okay. It depends. Okay, so when you're new, you don't really know what kind of trader you want to be. You don't know like what your preferences are. The best way to go about it that I try to relate to people is backwards engineer what you're doing. Let me actually record this one. This would be a really good video. All right, so we have a really good question here from Mr. The Real G Squared, and he is asking, which indicators would you recommend a newer person? A very difficult question to answer, but the way that I typically handle something like this is kind of the way that I learned myself, is that at first, okay, here's a general rule. Certainly no more than 3 indicators. I really do not know too many like successful traders who use more than 3 indicators, and the ones that I do know, they really only focus on like 3 or less actually, even though they have like a bunch on their board. It's really kind of there, you know, just in case as like a secondary or tertiary kind of confirmation. But if you're completely new, the problem is that you don't know who or what you want to be as a trader. So you don't know your preferences yet because you have no experience, and that's completely fine. You know, we all start there, obviously. So what should you do to kind of figure that out? I find that it is best to backwards engineer what I'm looking for. And I find that that's probably the best way to kind of get to where you want to be. So first things first, you ask yourself, okay, first off, can I even handle trading this on this time frame? Meaning not like can you actually not handle it, but do you have the time in the day? So if you are limited on time, you probably first want to focus on, you know, higher term time frames. If you are, you know, if you're at your computer all the day, like all the day like myself, then hey, you can roll with like an hourly or maybe even lower than that, especially if you're trading like Forex or traditional. Now, with that said, when it comes to indicators, then you want to backwards engineer a little bit more. Okay, do you want to be a swing trader? Do you want to be holding these positions, you know, trading the trend? If that's the case, then I'd probably recommend something very simple, starting with moving averages. It's not going to be the best thing, but it's going to get you started. And the idea is to get experience. And then as you get more and more experience, you start to slowly change what you're doing, what you're using. That comes more and more in alignment with what you are, you know, trying to actually do. Okay, so with that said, you know, just another example, like maybe you want to be a range trader like myself. Well, in that case, you know, started off very, very simply with just like, I don't know, horizontals, you know, draw the fucking lines, right? Very, very simple stuff, very easy to learn. Or learn just, you know, general trends. Start off with the very, very basic stuff, very, very basic stuff, you know, trend analysis. I think most people can learn within like, you know, a day, maybe a week. You know, it does take a little bit of nuance. You know, looking at horizontal levels, again, you know, very, very simple to learn, typically about a week or so. And then you kind of backwards engineer. So you want to be asking yourself, do I want to trade trends? Do I want to trade ranges? Do I want to trade in high volatility areas? Do I want to trade in low volatility areas? And then you kind of, you know, augment it from there. So my sort of way of looking at things is trend first, or structure, if you want to call it that. It's kind of one and the same to myself. And then I look at, of course, volatility. That's number 2. And then momentum after that. And anything on top of that is just kind of icing on the cake. And actually, in most cases, I don't even want to be looking at it because they can just, you know, add in more, you know, confounding factors, which probably don't really help at the end of the day, at least in my experience. It does more to confuse rather than help an actual strategy. Anyways, so which indicators would I recommend a new person? Pretty much nothing. I do think that you need to have a volatility indicator on your board. It's going to be useful no matter what strategy you're using. I do think that moving averages give you a pretty easy way to be looking at trend, or you can just literally, look at it like this and put it on a line chart. I think that's also kind of a foolproof way to learn. Just get comfortable with kind of defining local lows and local highs, and then also ranges, and then go on from there. Momentum oscillators are great in my experience if you want to, it depends. Again, like if you want to trade ranges, I like to use something a little bit more short form, like Stokes, because they seem to get, the shorter term moves a little bit better. If I'm looking for, more trend style tradings, I'll probably employ like an RSI, just because a lot of the time, it's a little more versatile, but a lot of the time it's going to speak towards more long-term moves, for example. And then just kind of backwards engineer from there, again, and when starting, I'd probably really suggest not using certainly no more than 3 indicators, but probably even just 1 indicator at a time, and then get a feel for what you want to do and be thinking about what kind of trader you want to be. Do you want to be doing this do you want to be doing this on an hourly? It's completely fine, but you got to have the time for that. Do you want to be holding positions for, weeks at a time? That's completely fine as well. But, you have to make sure that works with your lifestyle. So that's what I'd say. First, get some experience, and then it'll naturally start to arise. I wouldn't just say, all right, everyone needs to learn, everyone needs to put on an RSI. They need to put on a Stoke, which doesn't really make sense to have like both of those. Anyways, and then they need to have moving averages. It's like, no, that's not going to be, like, moving averages are not going to be too useful for someone looking to trade ranges, although it will be somewhat useful, for example. So again, just get some experience first, and then backwards engineer. And Google is your friend, of course, when searching up like what indicator is best for this sort of strategy, or this sort of style of trading, because there's an infinite amount, and hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for that. Nice. Cool. Sounds good, Mr. Isaac. Sounds good. Mr. Sinegra says Krown mentioned that he only likes to play the RSI divs when they're over 65 or under 45, but when does he like them on hidden divs? Okay, so when it comes to hidden divergences, all right, let's find some example. Let me go down to like an hourly, and let's get off a fucking shitty SBMB. That'd be a good idea. Okay, hidden divergences, I actually like to see in the neutral zone. So kind of the opposite of that, between about 40 and 60 a lot of the time is where I like to see them. Now, sometimes you can see them in the shallow end of the bullish control zone or the shallow end of the bearish control zone. I think those are okay as well. But if you see them in the extremes, very unlikely to work. These ones, very unlikely to work over here. These ones, pretty damn good. These ones over here, very unlikely to work. Do we have some? I guess we didn't really have too many hidden bearish divergences as of recently. Trying to find some examples of bad ones. No, these are all good right here. But let's say it happened over here, probably not going to work out all that well, or at least the response from it is not going to be too impressive. So I'm not as interested in trading them, for example. So yeah. All right, cool. Okay, you guys like eggs? I actually really like eggs. In fact, I'm about to eat some after the stream. In fact, maybe we should start to close and wrap this bitch up. Let's go over. I will make you some eggs as well, sir. Do you like your eggs fried or fertilized? Hey, what's up? What's up, Africa? What's up, XRP Africa? All right, last one. Manuel says, hey, Krown. Hey, man, all good. Can you show me where you take the Fibo on CME? Bitcoin, mine looks different and would like to learn. All right, so I'm guessing you're referencing this chart right here. Let's see, do I have it on still? I do have it on. All right, where am I taking it? Right here. I took it from the last low. I took it from the last low right here. Or sorry, the last low right around here. So I'm going to explain why I did not actually include this major low on the 20th of July. Why did I take this area right here rather than this area right here? It's actually a very simple reason, because this was a bear trap right here. And so I want to be taking the actual range lows where that was confirmed, and that was 31,500. And then I took the top side to the top of, of the current rally, essentially, is what I did right there. Nothing more than that. But whenever you see something like that, that's how I do it. Same thing over here. And this is something that I learned from the Fibonacci master himself, Mr. Fibo Swanee, who I would really suggest checking out if you're interested in like Fibonacci analysis. But you do the same thing over here too. This was a bull trap right here. So if I wanted to look at the, if I wanted to look at the what's it called, the old retracement there, I'll take it right here from the actual, basically island top in this case, and then draw it down right here, something like that. And that's what I'd be looking for. So, yeah. I think that gets that. And let me I think it's time to wrap up Bitcoin right here. All right, let's see. let's see. Let's set these charts up. I want to get this one over here too, because this one was important, and this one over here. We'll see where we're at. Yeah, hourly. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Here we have Bitcoin versus the dollar, and we'll be doing a general overview on this one, as Bitcoin does put in one more swipe of the lows, as we did say was likely yesterday, at around the $40,000 region, now bouncing up as well as we said was likely yesterday as well. So where am I essentially looking for to today? Well, short-term timeframes are in a bit of a bouncy posture right now. Hourly can trade all the way up to anywhere around 43,000 bucks with no problem. However, I do suspect that Bitcoin probably has one more downside move after that. Not necessarily to new lows just yet. I'm not necessarily of that opinion right now, but I do think that Bitcoin can very easily test around its current lows, somewhere around about 41,000 bucks. So a very similar analysis actually to the past couple days. Hang around the lows, but very likely bounce from there. Even if Bitcoin is going to break lower over time, which I think is certainly possible here. I don't think it happens today is what I'm trying to say. Looking at this chart over here, I do want to bring up something rather important. First and foremost, well, I wouldn't say it's first and foremost, but very important right here. We do see that Bitcoin is grabbing on to the bottom side of the 200 bands right now. If Bitcoin does close above there, which is currently 41,000 bucks, again, I might look for one more test down around there, but I'd be looking for a local low around there as well. And Bitcoin very likely puts in a rally somewhere into the mid $43,000 territory, perhaps even as high as 44,500. However, I do retain, continuation of trend and bearishness as long as Bitcoin's below 44.5. That was being based off of the closure on Sunday below 47.5. That's where it became bearish, as this became a confirmed local high. And well, the rest is history. Now, with that said, a few other things kind of supporting that we are within a bounce territory. The PMARP right here is down at the same levels that we typically do see some nice bounces from. Now, it can hit the lower band of this, which is significantly lower, to be fair. But that really only happens, or we really only see that happen when Bitcoin gets into like these mega moves right here. Could we be looking at one, currently speaking? Maybe, yes. I mean, it's definitely possible. But for example, the last time we saw this right here into that deeper portion was in, mid to late May on that massive dump from 60 all the way down to 30, right? It did produce a phenomenal bounce pretty much right off the get-go. But if we are talking about the more shallow version of that, well, we do have several examples obviously right here. This one putting in a pretty nice bounce of about 25 to 30% or so. We have an example right here. This one essentially getting the lows of the prior accumulation in January of this year. This one, moving up for a 100% move over the course of a month or two. Not always going to be like that, obviously. This one over here, obviously getting the lows. This one a little bit more sluggish, getting off the lows, but immediately about 15 to 20%, and then over time about 100%. And then just continuation from there as well. The time before that we got into this region was obviously in coronavirus dump times of last year, and over here as well on this mega bounce here too. Now, of course, you will notice that not all of these are like reversals. They're not. It's not calling a reversal. It's calling a bounce. That's kind of where I'm at right now on this chart. So if I were to go back on over here, essentially as long as Bitcoin is below, let me just pull up this chart right here, is below, of course, our 44.5 level, especially coming into the end of this week, I will be looking for a long-term continuation of the downside. However, do I think Bitcoin's gonna have a chance to test around there? Probably sometime this week. Yes, I do. The question is, do we close above there or not? If Bitcoin fails to close above there, then, I'll just be looking for general continuation of the downside, somewhere down around our last prior major low in early August, actually, at about 38,000 bucks before the next daily bounce. Also going to be in line with the 236 Fibonacci retracement right here as well. Currently speaking, though, we do see a bounce of the 382. Well, again, I do think we could have one more run at 41,000 bucks. I do expect that we will see at the very least a bounce up to about 43.5 to 44.5 first before anything else, and then decide probably over the weekend if I had to guess. Is there anything else that I want to get on? Yes, of course, short-term timeframes showing some short-term upside. 41,400, the magical number on the 4-hour, on the hourly to keep momentum oscillators up. 4-hour will actually be popping down with any sort of closure below 42,120, but we are actually above that region right now with an hour and 3 minutes left to go. 12-hour, where we at? Going to be down as long as below 46.2, not looking good, and daily will be down as long as below about 44 right there, which is actually rather interesting. So if Bitcoin can start to close above 44, I said 44.5 earlier, but maybe we could move this down to 44. That'll start to look good for at least a move back up somewhere around about 46,000 bucks or so, and then come back to it after that. But for right now, there is a lot of opportunity, especially on the short-term time frames. That's kind of where I have my own, where I'm focused myself. Short-term timeframes, again, very likely, short-term move up here, maybe somewhere around 43 to 43.5. And then I'd probably be looking for maybe one more swipe of the lows somewhere down between 41 and 42. And that's where I'd be expecting like the actual bounce, maybe like early tomorrow or sometime around, around market close. Anyways, with that said, speaking of regular marks right here, should another sort of feature or thing that I'm looking for that essentially does suggest that we probably bounce first here from this region is of course on Nasdaq. Bitcoin likes to trade with the tech sector, obviously, and this one's in a bouncy posturing. Now, I'm not saying that this chart looks phenomenal right now, obviously, but it is in a bouncy posturing. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one test somewhere around 15,250 or so, and that probably does bode well for Bitcoin in the short and medium term here. So again, it depends what time frame you're looking at, obviously, but for right now. Oh, and I also forgot one more thing as well. And also it should be known that we are bouncing off the medium band of the Gaussian channel right here on the 5-day, and that is to be expected. Now, of course, we do start to break below it, which is $40,000. Then, well, we'll look at a run to the downside of it. But typically speaking, once you get to the medium band, you do get at least a pity bounce, like you saw right here, like you saw right here, like you saw right here, and like you saw right here, of which we are kind of doing that right now. So I'd give it a chance first, see where we close out at the end of the day. Hey, if Bitcoin closes above $44,000 today, that would look pretty damn good. That actually looked pretty damn good. But for right now, it is pressure on, of course, and short term bouncy. Give it a chance, see what happens around daily closure, and then come back tomorrow and see where we're at. So hopefully that was helpful. I'm gonna be signing off now. I want to wish you well. Take care, and until next time. All right, nice one, sirs and zers. It's been an absolute pleasure yet again. A nice little fun day. We've been through so much together this week. Holy fucking shit, man! This crypto market, it makes you feel like you've lived like 10x the actual years that you have experienced in your life. My lord, man, my hair's already turning all gray, so there's that. I'm gonna be signing off now. I want to wish everyone well yet again, and we'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same place. With that said, I salute you, and until next time.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR, pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test it, build it, try it, bend it, fork it, hype it, pump it, dump it, rinse, repeat, but quick relocate, pause it, list it, send it, burn it, pump it, hack it, quick rename it.